Welcome to Nacheki's Africa True Story. Africa is the continent most affected by proliferation, circulation and use of legal and illegal weapons. The violence and destruction associated with the rising arms imports into Africa cost the continent an estimated 18 billion a year as infrastructure is destroyed, businesses closed and children kept out of schools. This begs the question, where do these weapons come from? Africa's wars are usually supplied by Western weapon manufacturers, most of which are state-owned. This makes them the sole beneficiary of African constant bloodshed caused by their weapons. A report by the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, revealed that the 5 largest suppliers of weapons to the African continent are the United States, Russia, France, Germany and China. These peaceful and developed nations literally make a killing selling their weapons to developing nations. Nigeria's arms imports grew by 42% between 2012 and 2017. This is the same period during which Boko Haram rose and raised terror in the country. Nigeria's Secret Service in October 2010 intercepted the shipment of 13 containers filled with rocket launchers, grenades and other explosives and ammunition. The cargo was said to be on its way to Gambia and had begun its journey from a port in Iran. Also, sometime in June 2009, there were several media reports that security operatives impounded a Ukrainian plane fully loaded with guns. Similarly, the number of recovered arms from robbers, not to mention the lingering militancy, terrorism, herdsmen and farmers' conflict and kidnapping further exposed the magnitude of the influx of arms in Nigeria. Police statistics in South Africa show a worrying trend of increased use of small arms and light weapons in the country's growing problem of violent crimes. Gun-related murders are the leading cause of violent death, placing the country second in the world after the US. Bloodily divided by ethnic and religious strife between rival armed gangs, the Central African Republic has been subjected to a United Nations arms embargo, which was recently extended until February 2019. But after a lengthy negotiation with the UN, Moscow managed to secure an exemption and delivered a sizable stock of weapons, including handguns, assault rifles, machine guns, and even rocket launchers. Russia has also won UN approval to offer weapons training to 2 battalions, around 1,300 men of Central African Armed Forces. Russia is now shipping its arms to Cameroon for its fight with Boko Haram jihadists and forged military partnerships with the Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC), Burkina Faso, Uganda and Angola, and cooperation on nuclear power with Sudan. Russia has signed 20 weapons contracts over the past 2 years with African countries. From 2013 to 2017, China's arms exports to Africa surged from the previous 5-year period, making its share of total African arms import to rise to 17%. China exported 24 battle tanks to Tanzania and 30 to Chad in 2013. Chinese arms reportedly have been used during conflicts in Congo and Sudan. In July 2014, Norinco, a Chinese defense corporation, delivered 100 guided missile systems to South Sudan. These are just but clear evidences of how weapons from some of the world's most powerful states are coming into the continent. Without proper monitoring and inspections, these small arms and light weapons are frequently recycled from conflict zone to conflict zone among fighters, security forces and war profiteers. Efforts by the Economic Community of Central African States to eradicate the illegal arms trade cannot succeed without a stronger commitment by nations that supply those weapons. The scourge of weapons has transformed the landscape of African armed violence. Their accumulation has devastating consequences, with huge humanitarian costs, human rights violations and abuses. They are implicated in the massive flows of refugees and internally displaced people in Africa. The AK-47, an iconic struggle weapon of African liberation, lasts 20 to 40 years. It is also the weapon of choice for terrorists and drug lords globally. It is easily transported, smuggled to conflict zones and cached. The weapons fuel, aggravate and escalate conflicts. They also spawn a culture of violence and impunity. Their intractability thwarts conflict resolution and peace-building efforts on the continent. Putting into place a system like the Arms Trade Treaty with an adequate framework to regulate and control weapons and reduce the suffering stemming from their spread and use is one way of solving the arms menace wreaking havoc on the African continent. The other way is to hold manufacturing countries accountable for supplying weapons to unstable countries, therefore exacerbating the situations at hand. Do you know of an African story that needs to be heard? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe to get the latest African lists, entertainment, pop culture, and news.